I just realized my mic was muted. Whoops. Let's see now. Do I have my captioner running? Yes, I do. Okay. There we go. Back to the music. They are. Just gotta make a tweet. I really do love the music in this game. Hey, Blanco, welcome. Now, how do you make a pillar out of soup? Ah, so we do need a containment unit. I see. All right, we have looped through the theme song. Let's go ahead and start this off, I think. Now comes the most important choice. What difficulty do we play on? I like to think that I'm pretty good at RPGs. That I could pick normal or hard. Definitely will not be doing expert mode, which turns off a lot of the tooltips. I love tooltips. I cannot give them up. The Trial of Iron mode is like an Iron Man mode in a roguelike or some other game where you only get one save file. Oh, sorry, I am not Cell Davison. different CEL. My name is E. I am Cello E. But you're welcome to hang out. I think I'm gonna pick normal. Just for reducing the amount of save loading after death that we might have to do. So as we load in, we see this nice green pillar of stone in the center of a large ruined chamber with tree branches growing around. Pan up to the ceiling to see the carved face of some person in the ceiling and a skylight. And the title, Pillars of Eternity. And then, of course, a loading screen.
Five wagons grope blindly for the path on a starless night, their master glancing ever upward to the skies for assurance that he is on the right course. A dim lantern his only protection against the encroaching darkness. But the skies bring no comfort, shining no light, betraying no hint of what they know. The caravan carries travelers bound for the frontier hamlet of Gilded Vale, you among them, where a local lord has offered land and wealth to settlers from abroad looking for a fresh start. You have taken suddenly ill, sweating and shivering, and one of the other travelers signals for the caravan master to stop on your behalf. He pulls up just in time to avoid plowing into the trunk of a fallen tree that bars the way ahead. You will go no further tonight.
All right, so that text was playing over. Very nice. All of the illustrations in this game are very, very nice in a traditional like painting style. We see this line of wagons on a narrow path along a mountainside. And we already know one thing about our character, that we are sick. And now we go to character creation. Alright, so we know that we're gonna have to play a guy, because that is where the fabulous voice acting of Mr. Super Blind Man is going to be. So we will go ahead and pick male. Now we get our first real choice. We need to pick a fantasy race. We have human. Humans, commonly called folk, are the most common race in the Dyrwood, the Aedir Empire, Old Valia, and the Valian Republics. Though not as large as the towering Almala, humans are known for their strength and willpower. The Captioner is not going to grab any of those in-universe names, which I apologize for. Then there is the Almala. The mighty Almala are the largest of the Kith races, and are commonly found in or near oceans. Though not truly aquatic, they have an affinity for water, and many of their civilizations, such as Rawatai, are based on naval dominance. They are known for their unparalleled strength. The Almala are sort of an analog to an orc that you might find in a D&D game. They're larger than humans, very broad-shouldered typically. In this setting, Almala tend to have almost like, I don't know, fish-like or lizard-like skin. They tend to be shades of blue or green or red. Very sea-like people. Then we've got dwarves. By virtue of land covered and number of colonies settled, dwarves are the most well-traveled race in the world. They are commonly found in the Dyrwood, the Valian Republics, and almost any colonized land. Dwarves are known for their great strength and tenacity. And it is what you would imagine a dwarf to be. The default here has very bright red hair and a well-braided beard. Oh, is it Amua? That's good to know. I don't remember if I've ever actually heard it said out loud. So Amua then. All right. We have elves. Elves are the dominant race in Erglanfath and the White That Wends, and are extremely common in the Dyrwood and Aedir. Elves are known for their speed and intelligence, as well as a commonly isolationist nature. Again, sort of your typical fantasy elf. Human-sized, but more slender, pointy ears, the works. Then we have two other pillars, specific races. We have Orlans. Orlans are the smallest of the Kith races, though many cultures don't consider them to be civilized at all. Notable for their large ears, two-toned skin, and hirsute bodies, Orlans are commonly found in Erglanfath, the Ishamiddle Plains, and parts of the Dyrwood. They are known for their mental intensity and sharp senses. The default Orlan here has very long ears, almost donkey-like, shaggy hair, about the height of a dwarf, pretty small folks. Hey, Sturlock, welcome. Yes, we are for sure gonna see some fantasy racism. Orlans are considered beast-like sort of animals, which is not cool. And then we have the godlike. The godlike are children of the Kith, the civilized races, who have been blessed with physical aspects associated with the gods, although some do not consider it a blessing. These aspects may take many forms and often come with mystical powers. Aberrant head shapes are typical, and godlike are unable to wear protective headgear, as it is near impossible to find anything that fits. Because of their unusual nature and their inability to reproduce, godlike are often viewed with fear and wonder. The default here is a death godlike. It is a person whose head is almost entirely cased in, like, I don't even know what you would call that, like chitin, and has huge ram curved horns extending back from their head, and the front of their face is like shadowed in swirling smoke. I believe there are also fire godlike, there are nature godlike, and there are moon godlike. All of whom have these sort of extravagant features on their heads and faces. They're very strange and very cool. What are y'all feeling for a fantasy race? I believe all the voice sets are the same, so we'll get to hear Brandon no matter what. It's satanic. There is definitely some death cult stuff you can get into. Elfie elf? We could go elfie elf. The captioner does not like that. Elfie. Elfie. There we go. The captioner has to put up a lot between Dragon Age and now this. It's got a lot of fantasy nonsense to contend with. Now we could do a compromise because the godlike are particularly blessed members of other races. We could do an elf that became a godlike, or you know, a godlike elf. We could do. It doesn't have to be spooky guy either. There are other aesthetics. I don't know if godlike can become regular. I don't know if that's a thing. Hey, I was right about the 4 types. All right, death. Death godlike are the most distrusted of their kind. Strange growths cover their eyes, or in some cases, entire face, giving them a sinister appearance. The growths are transparent for the godlike, but opaque from the outside, hiding their features. Death godlike are commonly killed at birth because many cultures consider them to be harbingers of doom. I did not know that. That is wild. Don't kill your babies. Then we have fire godlike. The model here has, again, curved horns, not quite as long as the death godlikes. And his entire upper face and horns are just on fire. His face looks like it's got molten lava right behind it. The bodies of fire godlike often resemble hot metal, burnt wood, or stone, with harmless flames that erupt from the cracks in their skin. Fire godlike are objects of both reverence and fear in the Deadfire Archipelago. Many locals believe they have the power to awaken volcanoes, or that killing one will cause a volcano to awaken. In the Deerwood, fire godlike are often seen as a sign of the blessing of Magran, goddess of war and fire. Oh, you're kidding. The fire godlike's heads can be used? I did not know that. There's the moon godlike. Moon-godlike are the most tolerated of the godlike. While their skin tone and a large moon-like growth on their foreheads may be strange to some, their appearances are generally considered more palatable by the other kith. Sailors have many beliefs about moon-godlike and their propensity to bring luck, although there is little agreement as to what kind of luck they tend to bring. This moon-godlike has one horn, almost a unicorn horn, with a purple aura radiating out of it, and also like tusks that come down on the sides of his face. He's blue. Oh, you can light braziers with your head? That would be fun. Nature godlike is the fourth and last type. Nature godlike appear to be a fusion of human and animal features, often covered by plants, moss, or fungi. This has led to the common stigma that they are diseased, oh my god, and many are killed at birth because of it. No! I don't like this lore. Many druidic orders have a keen interest in nature godlike because of their general curiosity as to how souls occupy animals, plants, and stones. So there we have it. We have death, we have fire, we have moon, and we have nature. What are you feeling? Yeah, I agree. It's definitely the point that they're making is that they are feared by a lot of people, but still sucks. Yeah, you could call it a mutation, yeah. It is something that randomly happens to people who are blessed in some way. Alright, we have a vote for moon. Also, I apologize if I miss any chat. At any point, my the thing I'm reading chat on tends to disconnect sometimes, and doesn't warn me about it, which is fun. All right, let's go moon. Moon godlike and body type elf. Now we have another extremely difficult decision. We need to choose our class. Because there are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 11 of these classes. So I'm not going to read the flavor text for all of them. 2 of them are lore specific, so I'll read those. The rest are sort of your standard D&D lineup. We have Barbarian, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Priest, Ranger, Rogue, and Wizard. The 2 pillar-specific ones are Chanter, which is a... well, I'll just read it. In every culture across Eora, there are chanters. Many historians consider chanters to be the most ancient workers of magic, their hallowed phrases stirring the collective memory of wayward souls around them, compelling them to generate magical effects in a kind of reenactment. In some societies, chanters form organized groups of storytellers and researchers, but in most parts of the world, they are just a time-honored part of local folk traditions. The chanter is sort of a bard. To draw an analog to a familiar thing, chanters have phrases, which are like mini spells that they recite, and then once they build up a bank of, you know, they've recited 3 phrases or they've recited 4 phrases, then they get to use a chant, or an invocation, rather, that is like a bigger spell to cast. It's really cool. We will meet a chanter party member later on, so if we don't pick this class, we can still mess with it, if we like. Then there is Cypher, the other world-specific class. A recent discovery in the Eastern Reach. Ciphers were once called, and this is a word I'm going to butcher, Brishulgwyn, mind hunters, by the Glanfathans. Ciphers have the ability to directly contact and manipulate another person's soul and psyche, using an ally's or enemy's essence as the focus for their magic. Though most ciphers are still found in the Eastern Reach, practitioners of the techniques have spread throughout the known world. They are gaining acceptance over time, but are generally distrusted, especially by the uneducated. Ciphers are literally psychics. Like, they directly mess with your soul and your psyche in order to buff you or hurt you. So that's cool. Yes, chanters, when they're reciting phrases over and over again, they are usually providing a small buff to your team or debuff to the enemies you're fighting as they chant, which is cool. It's definitely Cypher is definitely on a level with blood mages from Dragon Age, in that it is dubiously ethical at best, and often like straight up manipulative. Yeah, but it can be fun. I'm trying to remember if we meet a Cypher. Yeah, we do. There's a Cypher party member. I believe the only two classes that there isn't a pre-made NPC party member for are Barbarian and Monk. And you also get to create your own party members throughout the game if you want. Just do the recruit and adventurer thing and roll up your own companion if you're displeased with the story ones. Any thoughts on class for our moon man? Oh, for sure. The story ones are really great. Except for one who will, you know, I won't smack talk him yet, but you'll know it when we meet him. Which one I don't like. Magic is a ton of fun. Priest is the, like, cleric. You've got healing spells, a lot of buff spells, and then there's wizard, who is more offensive. Chanter is pretty magic-y, actually. Chanter, yeah, the lore of Chanter is pretty much exactly what pattern magic is in Friends at the Table, which is a dope RPG podcast that you should listen to if you don't. Their fantasy stuff is extremely good. So yeah, Chanter is magic. The Paladin... No, wait. I'm trying to... I'm mixing this game up with literal D&D. I don't remember if the Paladin gets magic. I don't think so. I think the Ranger... Nope, the Druid. The Druid gets some magic. The Druid also gets to shapeshift, which is extremely cool. The Ranger gets an animal companion. All of the classes are good. That's my opinion. All right, I've got 2 on board for chanting. That's a quorum to me. Chanter, now we need to pick 2 phrases to start with. These will be the things that we chant over and over again to build up our ability to cast a spell. So we have 5 level 1 phrases to pick from. We have Blessed was Wingrid, quickest of his tribe. Increases the movement rate and reflex defense of all allies in the area of effect. We'll deal with combat mechanics at some point. Then we have Dull the edge, blunt the point. Come on. Reduces slashing and piercing damage of enemies in the area of effect. So that is a debuff. We have thick grew their tongues, stumbling o'er words. That is O''ER. I did not mispronounce that. Reduces concentration of enemies in the area of effect. We have come, soft winds of death. Drains a portion of endurance, which is HP, from all enemies. So very slow poison almost. And then we have, at the sight of their comrades, their hearts grew bold. Emboldens allies in the area of effect, giving bonuses to the fortitude and will defenses. So we have a speed 1, we have a reducing damage 1, we have a concentration debuff, we have a literal damage over time, and we have a defense buff. And we get to pick 2. If you don't have strong opinions, I have some thoughts as to, you know, a character build, and which ones of these tend to be more effective, but I would love to hear your thoughts if you have them. I would usually go for the damage over time one, the come, soft winds of death. That would be one that I usually pick just because it's reliable. You know, it's literally doing damage. And then I don't know, that's a good one. Damage over time, and the 5th one, which is defense? Yeah, I like that. We get a nice mix of damage and support. And then we get to choose one invocation, which we will be able to cast after chanting a certain number of phrases. There are 7 of these at level 1. We get to pick 1. But Renai Darrett's ghost, he would not rest. Calls beyond the shroud and summons a phantom to fight for the party. Requires 3 phrases. I think all of these are going to be after 3 phrases. Yeah. So that's just a summon. Summon a phantom to fight with you. And Hilhiraf crashed upon the shield. Reduces armor for enemies in the area of effect. In a cone in front of you. If their bones still slept under that hill, none can say. Summons 3 skeletons to fight for you. That's another summon. Not felled by the axe, nor broken by the storm. Increases defense for slashing and shock damage for allies. The thunder rolled like waves on black seas. Creates a thunderous explosion for a cone in front of you that stuns and shoves enemies. Thrice was she wronged, and thrice justly avenged. I really love this class just for the flavor. Drains electrostatic energy from the environment to create 3 bolts of lightning, causing shock damage to any in their path. So that's lightning damage to enemies. And then we have white worms writhed in the bellies of the dead. Causes a nearby downed enemy to explode, expelling 3 white grubs and crushing nearby enemies. I think that last one is my least favorite of this set, just because it requires an enemy to already be dead, so that you have a corpse to explode. The lightning damage one is pretty good. The lightning, the thunder... Yeah, they do equal damage. It's just shock damage versus crush, which is the... So I'll just do damage types real quick. There are 8 damage types in Pillars of Eternity: slash, pierce, crush, burn, shock, corrode, freeze, and raw. Raw damage ignores defense. and is generally associated with poison or that kind of effect. So the thunder one will do crush damage and stun enemies. The lightning one does shock damage but does not stun. Actually, the thunder one might just be straight up better. Yeah, the stun is pretty good. I like that. Let us... Oh, now we have to distribute stat points. Alright, I'm just gonna do a pretty basic spread here. The recommended stats for the chanter are Constitution, Intellect, and Resolve. Dump it all into Perception, drain everything else. Well, we could min-max. I don't love to. I like to keep everything around average. Although a lot of the build guides for this game will recommend that you dump a stat. Usually I think Constitution gets dumped? Or Dexterity, I don't remember. Super good eyes. Alright, we'll put a few points in Perception. Put 3 in there. Intellect will be, I think, our main casting stat, so I'm gonna just push that one right up to 18. So this is your D&D-esque stat spread where everything starts around 10. We had a starting 11 in Dexterity because of choosing the godlike race, I think. Our race gives us a bonus or 2. So I've bumped Perception to 13, Intellect to 18. I'm gonna put Resolve. Resolve gives us concentration on our spells, Deflection, Defense, and Will Defense. I'm gonna put 3 points there. I do have the expansion content. Yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, most of it is post-game, or like very late game, so it'll be a while, but I do have it, I promise. We'll leave our might average. Oh, I see. So your character, like player character voice, is also expansion restricted? Huh. That's really strange. Well, I do have it, and I did test this the other day, and I did make sure that voice was in here. So I got you. Alright, now we have to pick a culture from one of the 7... yes, that is what they are called. Forget the White March. It is the Super Blind Man DLC. 100%. There are 7 cultures. Each one will give us 1 point to 1 stat. We have Adir. The Adir Empire is currently the largest and most powerful force in this part of the world. It is centered around the equator and has a tropical climate. Though the Empire has colonies in numerous areas of the world, Greater Adir is at its heart and houses the majority of its human and elven nations. Hello, welcome, Milford Beans. Yes, I intend to play through this whole game, although it'll probably take a long time, because this is a long role-playing game. So that's the Adir Empire. There is the Deadfire Archipelago, consisting of the nation of Nasitak, dozens of Amoa settlements, and hundreds of lawless, pirate-infested islands that stretch along the southern sea. Deadfire is home to boreal dwarves, Amoa, and a mixed variety of other races. Deadfire Archipelago is the quote-unquote last stop for anyone headed east. A multitude of monstrous sea creatures infest the ocean beyond, making travel virtually impossible. We have the... I don't know if it's Ishamiddle or Ixamiddle. It's probably Ixamiddle, based on how English speakers do things, but the Portuguese and Nahuatl influence in me wants to pronounce it Ishamiddle. Anyways, the Ixamiddle Plains. Located to the northeast of Erglanfath, the Ixamiddle Plains are a large expanse of fertile savannas that are extensively farmed by human and Orlan residents. The Ixomital culture is one of the oldest in the world, though one of the least imperialistic, having spread out little over the past several thousand years. We have Old Valia. Once the crown jewel of the southern seas, Old Valia is now the crumbled remnants of an empire of warring merchant nations. Counting many humans and dwarves among their ranks, the Old Valian countries are still forces to be reckoned with and are proud of their rich cultural heritage. 3 more. Rauatai. Dominated by the Omoa nation of Rauatai, the Gulf itself is host to a number of nations, most of them Omoa, Orlan, and Dwarven. Though these countries are relatively young, they are some of the most advanced colonial settlements in the East. The Gulf is a land of riches and resources for those who can take them, though the entire coast is often pummeled by violent storms. The Living Lands. The Living Lands is the mountainous region of a large northern island, I almost said Northern Ireland, renowned for its diversity of plant and animal life. Its weather is unpredictable, and its ecosystems vary dramatically from valley to valley. The Living Lands are home to an assortment of races in a variety of colonial and independent settlements. And finally, the White That Wends. A large, cracked southern expanse of polar ice, the White That Wends is home to pale elves and small colonies of daring explorers, outcasts, and adventurers. While virtually no plant life grows in the White, it is home to many hardy species of dangerous animals that forage from the sea or prey upon each other to survive. Hey Ryan, thanks for stopping in. But yes, definitely rest up and feel better. The flu is no fun. So those are the 7 cultures we can pick as our background. Each one gives a stat bonus to one thing. I don't remember, there must be a duplicate in here because there's 7 of them and 6 stats. Yeah, 2 of them bonus to resolve. So we could pick Wends Mountain Dwarf Barbarian. Yeah, mispronouncing all of the names. There are a lot of names in this game, which I love. You know, I love a fantasy series that goes all in on creating unique names. But it sure is a thing to try and read them. So we could pick based on the stat that we want to buff. We could pick based on lore type of thing, where we would most likely find our moon-godlike elf in the world, which honestly could be about everywhere. I don't know that there's anywhere that elves particularly aren't. I guess because we only picked the body type of an elf, we didn't have to pick between the, I think, the pale elves and the something else. Yeah, I was also thinking about the White That Wends. We'll just be Wendish all around. Durance and Mother. All right, let's go with the White That Wends. We can imagine that our godlike was born as a pale elf. They tend to have bluish or pale skin anyway, so you know, maybe that's how it is. Then we choose what we did before coming on our current adventure. We can have been an aristocrat, an explorer, a laborer, a mystic, a drifter, a hunter, or a merchant. The set of these that are available to us, I think, depends on the culture that we pick. So there are some that are available sometimes and not others. Each one of these will give +2 points to some of the various skills that we can develop, which are things like lore, athletics, survival, mechanics, basically things that let us pass checks throughout the game to, you know, to do things in scripted content. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, these things, like, in a very literal way, shape who the character is. For example, people from the same culture might react to you in different ways or have different dialogue options. Mystic could be fun. I don't think I've ever seen Mystic. That must be a White That Wins specific background, because I don't think I've seen it with all the other ones. Alright, let's go Mystic. You've never been able to explain how the universe guides your path. Behind every task you undertake is a feeling of cosmic direction. That sort of cosmic, you know, we're a moon-godlike, it's all coming together. Alright. Now we have some visual stuff. We're just gonna pick an aesthetic for ourselves. We'll do a primary color that's a nice, let's go with purple as our primary color. And light blue as our secondary. Hot pink? Let's see. We could go hot pink. This will just color the outfits that we put on in a very rudimentary way. And there are 3 head shapes for the moon-godlike. There's the one that we've been looking at as we go through. We have this unicorn horn with the purple aura emanating from it and the tusks on either side. There's one with, oh my gosh, that looks like a radio tower on top of his head. It's like 2 upright antennae from above his eyebrows, and they have these little moon-shaped connections between them. It literally looks like a some sort of signal broadcast. And again, these like purple flames radiating out from it. The last one is, how would I describe this? It's still got horns, but they're like crossed in an X shape above his forehead, so they're coming out from each eyebrow, crossing, and then turning back. So all definitely horns. Horns for sure. The character portrait that we get to pick from, they don't have a ton of portraits for godlikes. There's one for the guy with the face tusks, unicorn horn. And there's one for someone who just has a moon symbol on their head and doesn't have any horns at all, and that doesn't match any of these. So I guess I'm going to go with the one that matches the portrait that's available, because I like it when the portrait and the little character model match. It does look a bit like sideburns, you're right.
I'm here.
And there's our voice. That was easy to pick. Gosh. Yeah, there's 99 portraits, but that covers all, literally all of the portraits available. So there's about 50 for each gender, and then they're split up by race. So there's like, it ends up being like 10 portraits, not even 10, like 8 portraits per race.
I'm flattered.
Yeah, I've used custom portraits in the past.
Stand together! Quietly now.
I just want to hear all these lines.
I'm here.
All right. We have one more hard decision to make, and that is, what should we name this character? We could just call him Brandon. That's an option that's on the table. quote-unquote Brandon. I wonder if it allows me to put quotes in the name. I can indeed put quotes in it. Is there an anagram? Let's see. What can we make not Brandon the name? Braden. Danbron. Oh yeah, Brandon with an apostrophe in it. That's the most fantasy. That is top tier fantasy right there. Putting the apostrophe in the middle. I kind of like Dan Braun. What if I put Dan Braun, but with an apostrophe in the middle of it? I could even put 2 apostrophes. Just one, actually. Just one. Dan apostrophe Braun. There we go. Perfect name. Level 1 chanter. That was only half an hour or so of character creation. Alright. Yeah, that's for sure a bot. So we have our caravan has camped here in sort of an open plain. We have a campfire set up. All of these travelers are gathered around. We can see our own character, very distinctive with the head unicorn. I'm just gonna call him a unicorn. That's what he is. Behind us are giant green pillars of stone. Bot means I've made it. I'm so flattered. Giant green pillars of stone, as if they're growing out of the earth just naturally. And we have the caravan master approaching us to talk. Some of the dialogue text is voiced, some of it is not. So this is Caravan Master Odima. The Caravan Master finishes addressing the group, his bushy red mustache and sagging jowls quivering as if for emphasis.
Everybody stays close to the wagons, got it? Stay out of the woods, and beasts take you if you are planning a stroll through those ruins up there.
He nods toward a looming black mass on the hillside.
Whole area's crawling with hut-dwelling types who'd be happy to stick an axe in you for trespassing. So mind that you don't track mud on their sacred blazing rocks. Tonight, everybody stays put, and in the morning we'll get the path cleared. Gilded Vale's less than a day out. Understood?
At last, the caravan master turns to you, frowning as he looks you over.
Touch of the rumbling rot, could be. There's a stinging beetle round here, carries it. You'll be fine once it passes your innards, unless you don't drink water, course, in which case you'll be dead in a day. There's a berry grows in these parts, small and pink, called a springberry. About the size of a fingernail. Give you cramps if you eat it, but the frontiersmen make a tea from it. Calms the insides. Should get you through the night. You might check around, see if you can find some. Meanwhile, I'll see if we can scare you up some water. I know you want to hunt before it gets much darker, but see about refilling our water first. Got a sick one here.
I forgot that the voice acting will override any text that's before it in the line. So it's Odima looks over his shoulder at his assistant, a lanky, intense man named Sparfle, who carries an old, sun-bleached bow, and then he addresses him about hunting. Then he nods in your direction. Sparfle nods and slides the worn bow over his shoulder. Now we get to ask some questions. Where would I find these berries?
They grow on a bush that's common round here, kind of funny looking. You'll know it when you see it. Doubt you'd have to go far off the road to find one.
What are those ruins?
Nothing you won't see on half the hills of Air Glonfoth. Money to be made selling their knickknacks in Defiance Bay, if you don't mind getting stuck with Glonfoth and arrows now and again. They didn't build them, but I'll be the effigy if they don't watch them like a mother bear. Of course, all the ones around here have been ransacked 10 times over. Got nothing left worth half a pawn, so I hear.
We have a tutorial message. Your character's attributes, skills, class, race, culture, and sex may all open up options for you in dialogue. These options are not necessarily superior to the other responses, but give you a wider variety of choices to select from. The manner in which someone responds to your choices depends on their individual personality and attitude. We don't have any character-specific options here, so I don't know why it came up then. Anyways, I'm going to press on the ruins. Who did build the ruins?
Got different names for them. Settlers called them Ingwithans. Nobody that liked them enough to stop them becoming ruins, tell you that much.
Is it dangerous out here?
Not if you hurry about your business, and not if the weather holds up.
There's concern in his tone, but he doesn't elaborate. What kind of weather do they get out here?
This time of year, rain mostly, and wind. But there's a different kind of wind out here time to time. Locals call it a beowick, born out of the ether, the spirit's path. Never seen it myself, never cared to.
And what are all these huge rocks coming up out of the ground?
They don't got Audra where you come from? Well, it just grows up out of the ground like this. Goes deep like tree roots. Some of it all the way to the heart of the world, you believe the stories. It's more like a shell than a proper rock. Easier to work if you're a mason. Got all kinds of strange properties. Seems to have some kind of life of its own. Dies if it gets dug up. Loses its luster. Folks think it probably grew at one point or another, but not these days. The soul butchers in Defiance Bay use it for different things. I've heard tell it can hold a man's soul, but I don't care to see it. Got enough to worry about without seeing something like that.
All right, well, I'll go see about those berries then.
Hold on. Take someone with you. I know you're not some helpless tenderfoot, not like most of this lot. But you drop dead, I don't want to be looking for the body. Got a schedule to keep.
He scans over the travelers, resting his eyes at length on a sturdy, armor-clad woman who has spent the journey's nights sleeping on uneven ground without blanket or pillow.
Kalisha. Kalisha!
The woman looks up on her own time.
He needs to find some spring berries. Watch that he doesn't drop dead.
No promises.
What kind of guide says something like that?
Kind you can afford.
Don't listen to her. You're in good hands. And I pay too well, if anything.
Again, there was intermittent text there. Odima chuckles and shakes his head. He looks at you. Don't listen to her. You're in good hands. He casts a sidelong glance at her, and I pay too well, if anything.
Off with you. Hayadin should have supplies. See that you're equipped before you head out. We're in harsh country. Get your berries and hurry back. And if you get so much as a tickle of wind, you drop everything and you run. Something in the air tonight. If it's a beowick, we'll shelter in the ruins. Hut dwellers be damned.
Odima's small grin recedes beneath his mustache, and he is stern once more. That was before that. I'll have to figure out how to...
Let's get going before you keel over.
There we go. I'll have to figure out how to consistently read the text that's interspersed with things that are voice acted, because that's gonna get irritating. Alright, we are in the world. Finally. It is 1 hour into the stream and we can finally control our character. Woohoo! Tutorial. Welcome to Pillars of Eternity. If this is your first visit to the world of Eora, you may want to watch these windows to become familiar with the tools and interfaces available to you. Your party always consists of your character and up to 5 additional companions or adventurers. While the caravan is camped outside the Glonfather ruins, Odima has assigned Kalisha to help you. Kalisha is a fighter, a class that excels at close-quarters defense. Use her abilities to complement your own. To select a party member, click on their selection circle, their portrait, or press the number button that corresponds to their position in the party, starting with 1 at the left. This is nonsense technical stuff. Yeah, okay. I don't need to go through that. I'm playing this game, and I know how to
Absolutely.
play. One thing I'm going to be doing quite a bit is pressing tab to highlight all the things I can interact with. We can see all of the NPCs from the caravan, and more importantly, a couple of crates that we can open. I'm gonna take everything as Dan Braun myself. We can...
Hope that helps.
Ooh, you voiced Hayden the Merchant for the demo. Cool, I will talk to him in a moment. I just used one lockpick that I picked up from one crate to unlock the other crate. So I'm already on my way as a thief. I'm trying to remember which... There we go, it's the arrow keys that scroll the map. I have my scroll speed deliberately pretty slow. For now, just so I'm not, like, instinctively making jerky camera movements all over the screen, because that's something that I hate to look at.
Anyone need supplies? I've got sundries for sale.
That's Hayden. Most people you encounter in the world are neutral or friendly. You can interact with them by clicking on their selection circle. Many characters will simply greet you and go on their way, but others will have larger conversations to explore. The merchant, Hayden, has a conversation that opens a store with equipment for sale. Alright, let's talk to Hayden. He is, by his portrait, I would say he's around 30. He's got long hair tied back in a ponytail with some wispy bangs over his head. You see a man wearing simple but mostly neat clothes. He's transfixed, however, by a ragged tear in the seam of his tunic. Hey, Mega Man. Welcome. Thanks for stopping by.
A whole wagon full of goods to sell, but not enough shirts for the road.
He shakes his head and laughs when he notices you. Brought a whole wagon... No, that's... he said that. He scratches one cheek with his knuckles. It's covered with uneven stubble, as if he hasn't quite gotten used to shaving on the road.
Say, is there anything you need? I've got some basic traveling supplies for sale if you'd like to take a look.
Who are you?
I'm a trader, originally from the Adir Empire, but I've been trying to establish new business out here. Life on the road has brought some unexpected challenges, to be sure. And I'm sure you've noticed how prickly the locals can be. But we're here to make the most of things, right?
He looks at his wagon and grins ruefully. We have our first personality influencing dialogue. So there are personality traits that you can acquire as reputations based on the quest choices and dialogue choices that you take throughout the game. I have the option turned on where in text it will show us what reputation we will be building towards based on what we pick. So we have a passionate response, we have a clever response, we have a cruel response, and we have a neutral one. I was going to ask if these lines were what you said. Yeah, Sam Riegel got it. I'm going to go for the passionate response here, because I think that fits our character build the best. Well, with an outlook like that, I'm sure you'll do well. You now have one rank in a disposition reputation. These reputations represent how people perceive your personality throughout the world. Even seemingly nasty reputations will be favored by some people, and benign reputations often bring out the worst in certain people. No disposition is inherently good or bad in Pillars, but if you're a priest or a paladin, you have to align your dispositions with what is favored by your deity or your paladin order. That's priest and paladin stuff. I'm not going to read. Did Hayden say this line? Or did I miss it? He says, we'll see, I suppose. I'm just trying to do right by my family.
Something else you need? Looks like we're settled for the night.
Tell me about the Adir Empire.
It's not as big as it used to be, but it's still big. The mainland is a continent northwest of here, but the colonies used to include Raed Ceres and the Deerwood. About 150 years ago, Deerwood won its independence from the Empire, a fact our companions are quick to remind me of.
Why'd you move all the way out here?
Because it seemed friendlier than Raed Ceres? My brothers took over the family mercantile business a few years ago, and there wasn't enough for me to do back home. I moved out to try and expand.
He shrugs. Deerwood is a former Adair colony, so it seemed like a good place to start. And as much as I admire the Raid Saren's work ethic, they've always struck me as a little fanatical. I don't know why some of the options are acted and some are not. I guess it's because of how deep these dialogue trees can get, I guess. I don't know, but I'll read things that aren't spoken. We have a rational response, a diplomatic response, and a neutral one. I'm gonna go for neutral here. I don't really vibe with either of these. Sounds reasonable enough. And he says, out here, I'm just taking it one day at a time. Alright, let's see what you have for sale. Stores allow you to trade and sell your items for copper pieces, CP, or items in the store's inventory. Merchants buy items from you at a greatly reduced price. If you sell something, you may see it appear in the store's inventory with a much higher cost. Stores periodically refresh their inventories. I think this tutorial message ends with a comma. Either that or there's a smudge on my screen. I think that's a comma. Just floating there, with nothing to do. Bad copy editing for whoever did that. We didn't even really pick up anything to sell. We picked up, let me open my inventory. I'm gonna get another tutorial here, I bet. Nope. Alright. I have so there's two items that all of my new characters start with because of, I don't know if they're Kickstarter items. I wasn't around for the Kickstarter. But anyway, there's this ring, Gaun's Pledge, which allows the wearer to do a little heal on themselves twice per rest. I'm just going to go ahead and put that on Danbron. And a giant miniature space piglet, pet follower. Pets don't do anything, but they're super cute. And I don't know what the story of the giant miniature space piglet is. But the description here says, this tiny titanic pig has an otherworldly appearance that seems to be at odds with its endearing behavior. It follows you dutifully and requires nothing in return save companionship. So obviously I will have the... Oh, it's a Baldur's Gate reference. That makes sense. That is another thing I'm unfamiliar with. Anyways, that will follow us around. The cosmic look goes pretty well with our moon man. So our starting equipment is a mace and shield. Kalisha has an axe and a torch in her offhand. I believe she can fight with both of those, so she's basically dual wielding. We picked up a piece of light armor, like basically clothing, not armor, out of one of those boxes. It has a 0 armor rating as opposed to the 4 that we currently have, which is already light, so I'm not gonna bother with that. Let's go find some berries. I'm wandering out sort of south of the camp. There are some ruins around here, although the ones that Hayden, nope, Odima was talking about are off in the distance. There's some bits of stone and rubble around. There's a fallen tree across the road.
Not looking forward to trying to lift that thing tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Can't go very far to the east. That's down the road where the tree falling is. Oh, tutorial. Exploration is key in Pillars of Eternity. As you make your way through the Eastern Reach, Open the area map to see what parts of the map you've already been to and what's left to explore. Yeah, so if I press M here, I get the local map, which there is Fog of War, so I've only explored a little bit. Let's go along the road the other direction. Oh, there's our friend, what's his name?
I'll have
Sparkle?
your water soon enough. Stream's not going anywhere.
The captioner called him Sparkle, which is very cute. So if we head up along the road, I'm just gonna pick all the plants that I see. They're useful for crafting eventually. This path winds through a narrow canyon back the way you
shouldn't stray too far.
Grooves in the road mark the passage of hundreds of caravans. I'm gonna open up this chat log at the bottom right to keep track of these things.
Let's check by those outcroppings.
Oh, I see an enemy. There's a wolf, a young wolf. Another tooltip. Pillars of Eternity Combat uses a pausable real-time system. Yes, I know. So, we have our good friend Dan Braun, who already has his 2 starting phrases. Okay, I will read this chanter tutorial. Chanters spend most of their time in combat speaking chants. Chants are arranged strings of magical phrases that produce different effects. As one phrase ends, its effects will linger, overlapping with the effects of the next phrase. When a chant reaches the end of the final phrase, it will loop back to the beginning. Careful arrangement of phrases can produce a powerful sequence of passive effects. So our 2 phrases, the damage over time and the defense buff, are already arranged into one chant for us, which is nice. So he will automatically chant whatever we have selected anytime combat starts. Alicia is a fighter, and I will send her directly to attack the wolf. Actually, I think we both are.
Me too.
By default. One of your characters has been engaged in melee. When characters are engaged, they stop moving. They can provoke disengagement. There you are, you're chanting. I just realized by picking this class, we're gonna hear you doing a lot of voice barks in combat. There's a thing about defenses and damage reduction. I don't want to deal with that right now. I just want to hit this wolf. Stop it. Stop giving me tutorials. Just let me hit the wolf. Alright, we hit the wolf. I don't think he even got through 1 or 2 phrases. Anyway. You take the wolf hide.
Certainly.
There's a dead deer on the ground here with a lot of flies scattered around. That must have been what the wolf was snacking on. And here's our spring berries. The ghost animal is our giant miniature space piglet. Doesn't everyone have one? Alright, so we've picked our berries, and we get a little conversation with Kalisha over here. So because we're a mystic, she says, "Oh, I heard you're kind of a spiritual sort." And we can choose how to develop our backstory here. Oh, I just noticed, Legume Dupree, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. We can say, "I spend my days studying theology." We can say, "I get visions from time to time that guide my way." Or we can say, "Spirituality was my life. I was an ascetic." Ascetic? I think ascetic is an acid. Do we want to be a theologian? Have mystical visions? Or an ascetic monk? Yeah, let's get visions. Yeah, she says, "How is it you happen to come here?" I had a vision that sent me here, people tried to use me to their own ends and I need anonymity, or I was accused of heresy. Well, I have a hard time believing that that good old Dan Brun here, our godlike moon unicorn, is going to be anonymous anywhere. So I don't think it's anonymity. Do we want to be a heretic? How do you feel about heresy? Yeah. Well, it's a hazard of the lifestyle, I suppose. You had to expect it was a possibility, no matter how much you didn't want it to be that way. That's true. We aren't necessarily a heretic. We've just been accused. Kalisha breathed in her surroundings. Been a long time since I've been this way, but I always did like it. Lord Radric's offer. Makes a girl think, I'll give him that. Are you here to settle, like the rest of the lot? I believe in the opening dialogue we got the context, which is that there's a local lord offering land parcels to settlers. Do you think we are a settler, or do you think we're just passing through? Those are our options here. Or we can say, I didn't think about it. I will say, Blanca, you have a good intuition. We will see momentarily why I say that. Let's just say I'm passing through. Felicia says, that's usually the case, with the big city just a little ways further up the same road. Where are you headed? Nowhere special, just putting distance between me and my old life. I'm gonna go to the city, see where that takes me. I'll probably wander for a while, somewhere I can make some money, or no idea what I'm gonna do next. This stuff doesn't matter as much. I'm gonna say... Let's say we're gonna wander for a while. that does end up being true. Kalisha, I couldn't judge you for that. Well, I've been wandering half my life. Well, just watch yourself. You get too far off the beaten path, these lands are wild in more ways than one. Anyway, I'm wasting time here. Odima will give me an earful. Let's be on our way. Now we can ask her questions. I hope there's voice acting for some of this, but there might not be. Tell me about yourself. I've got simple needs. I like open skies and far horizons. I find work that lets me live that way. My family wanders too. We started in Deerwood, but my parents ended up in the Living Lands. I've got a brother in Roatai and another in Adir. My sister's in Guild Vale. She's the only real homebody. What can you tell me about the Deerwood? Well, I'm not much for history, but from what I know, it used to be part of the Adir Empire. Broke off after a war some years back. The locals here are feisty, and that's how they like it. I've been out of touch, but I've been hearing weird kinds of things about it lately. People having trouble giving birth, I guess. A lot of them. Been going on for years now, but somehow it's getting worse. With an uneasy tremor in her voice, she adds, I'll have to ask my sister more about it. And why are you here? Kalisha sighs unevenly. Her eyes search the ground at her feet. My sister moved out here some time back. She sent me a letter. She seemed worried, but that's how she always is. This time, though, she asked me to come out, and that's got me a little worried. I haven't seen her in ages. Been doing guide work in Ixamiddle. But I'd do anything for her. She's a much better woman than me. So I'm here, and we'll see. Odima I've worked with before. He doesn't usually drive a route this way, but he's doing it for me. Alright, that's the end of Kalisha's dialogue tree. You know, I wouldn't hold my breath that Sparfle's getting you water anytime soon. He does what he feels like when he feels like it. We should check on him first. Slap him around a little. The stream's just down that way. Come on, let's get you your water. Alright. Quest updated. Find Sparfle. There's some, like, fireflies or something over here. Sparkle is the assistant to the caravan leader, Hunter, who was supposed to get us some water to drink with our berries, or make a potion out of or something, to get us over this basically food poisoning that we have. And instead, Felicia thinks that he probably isn't doing that and needs slapping, I guess. Where are we at? We've got this stream. Oh, there's a deer. Hi, deer. It ran away. Ooh, lurking for dinner time. Get you that food. There's some bodies on the ground over here by the wall. Travelers, maybe, said Kalisha, or looters. Bad sign either way you look at it. On one of them is a piece of leather armor and one lockpick. I will take that. Just loot bodies, as you do. And let's cross this stream. We have a very nice little stone bridge across this flowing stream.
What a surprise. Sparfle went hunting. At least he left the water skins. Come on.
And a water skin on the ground. And a discarded lantern nearby. You crouch at the riverbank and dip your water skin into the cool water while Kalisha waits nearby, keeping watch. As you rise, you notice her look up sharply toward the tree line. This is a scripted interaction. We've gone to a sort of storybook page, pen and ink illustration type of thing, which they do a lot in this series and I really like. Out of the trees emerges Sparkle, one of the guides, barely discernible in the dim moonlight. He no longer carries his bow, and there is a strangeness to his gait. His stride is wobbly as he moves toward you with labored breath.
Sparkle, are you all right?
Kalisha frowns. Sparkle's toe catches on a rock, and he collapses forward in a heap, the feathered shaft of an arrow planted between his shoulders like an enemy flag.
Ambush!
So we have two enemies, one from out of the woods where Sparkle was, and one on the bridge, who was behind us, I guess. They are both labeled as Glanfath and Hunter. I'm gonna put us both on the same one. I don't know how good we both are at tanking. And if we're near each other, then Kalisha will get the chanting benefits. Alright, we're up to 2 phrases chanted. We might even get to use our incantation. There we go, 3. First level chanter spells. Let's get close enough. There we go. Oh my gosh, that pushed him so far. And you got a critical hit on the last hit.
Come on, we have to get back to camp.
I just want to glory in that victory for a moment. This guy had a hunting bow, hide armor, and an amethyst.
Certainly.
See? The other guy had 6 coins. Let's explore back where they came from a little bit, see if there's anything worth checking out back here. There's some mushrooms. I'll pick that. Deer cap. I see a campsite. The footprints around the campfire are indistinct and may have been here for days or longer. Now couple of tents. Ooh, a bottle. There's beer. Don't mind if I do. Alright. Felicia said we should get back to camp. That's probably a good idea, considering we were just ambushed. Where's the road? Oh my gosh. Oh, there's enemies on the road. 3 of them. I'll have Felicia use her knockdown ability right at the start. I do have combat running in slow mode, which is not necessarily needed for slow, small early fights like this, but once we have our full lineup of party members, it will definitely be needed. Just knocked a guy completely out with that thunder wave. There we go. I think the guy was on fire because Kalisha was hitting him with a torch. Alright. Hunting bow, hatchet, shield. I'm gonna make the decision to send some of this loot straight to the stash, which is a storage thing we can access. I don't remember when exactly. At some times. Oh dear, I see bodies in camp. We've met the Glonfallen leader. All around you lie the massacred remains of the other travelers, peppered with arrows and knife hilts, splayed and bug-eyed and filthy. Kalisha puts the back of her left hand to her mouth, as if to ward away some poisonous vapor. A handful of dark figures stand above the fallen, treading on limbs and backs and heads, jerking their axes from bodies as if from half-split logs. One of them, towering and severe, with a thick beard tasseled with knots, holds a wet blade at the neck of the man you recognize as Hayden, the last of your caravan left standing. The leader says, "Lay down your arms, trespasser. Do not forfeit this man's life for a fight you will lose." And we have a lot of dialogue options here. Diplomatic, passing a lore 1 check. We have honest, we have diplomatic, we have passionate, we have rational, and a neutral. Why have you done this? I'm gonna go for the check with lore here. I think that's good for us as a mystic. The ruin has not been sullied by our hands, men of Irglanvad. Your words carry no weight when I've seen the truth with my own eyes. Blood must be paid for this intrusion. So I say again, lay down your arms. Hayden, don't trust them. They mean to kill us all. And here's some more checks. Perception 14, intellect 13, intellect 15. We can choose to put down our weapons, or we can choose to stay armed, or we can say just wearing a sight. Well, the intellect 15, I think, is the natural successor of that lore check we just passed. Intellect 15. Judging by the string of animal teeth around your neck, I'm guessing you're worshippers of Galawain. If Galawain told you to stop protecting the ruins, would you? The man frowns and motions as if to swing his axe. Hayden winces, but the blow never comes. Instead, the man cocks his head, intrigued. Of course, but he would not. It is by the command of all the gods that we accept this charge. How do you know? Because it's consistent with their beliefs, or because it's what you were told? The man glares. It has always been known to my people. I see. And what of Galawain's edict that weakness and age must be purged by youth and strength? You think Galawain would want some moldy, crumbling stones to survive long after their builders have turned to dust? The man's nostrils flare as he fumes. He would not. He told us otherwise. I'm sure he did. Just not you personally. But why should that stop you from killing innocents? Distracted, the man's grip falters on his axe handle, and he nearly fumbles it, affording Hayden the moment he needs to dodge out of his swing, which comes too late. Howling with rage, the man charges you instead. End of dialogue. Combat begins. So I will say, based on the other paths through that conversation, Hayden can come out dead, or wounded, or completely unharmed, which is how we have him now. Hayden is a rogue, I believe. Where's the character page? Yeah, first level rogue. He has a blinding strike ability and is wielding 2 daggers. He's actually wielding 3 daggers. The third one is just in the second, weapons slot.
Me too.
I love the chanting so much. Feels like a bit of overkill to try and... I just thunder waved nobody. Hey, Chaosbringer, welcome. Glenfathen leader. Your enemy lies supine on the ground, unable to rise. His companions now silent among the other dead. His breath comes in wheezing, fitful gasps. He looks not at you, but at the sky above you. Forgive us. Barely audible beneath his choked sighs, a whisper of wind stirs the air. At this, the man's eyes roll back as he closes them. Good. Good. The gods are just. A queer smile crosses his face. I am ready. The wind begins to swell, whipping around the camp, electric and volatile, upending pots and rattling tents like an angry spirit. You can feel it begin to seep beneath your skin, and where it pierces you, it feels as though it is rending you apart from within. Odima, seated against a wagon wheel amidst the howling maelstrom, slashed across chest and bowel. Odima's body stirs, and with great effort he raises his sagging head, his eyes barely open. He looks directly at you.
Get inside! Run!
And we do. The wind takes on a purple glowing hue and this lightning purple whirlwind sucks the fire from the campfire up into the air in this unnatural windstorm. We're now in a scripted event, straining against a gale that threatens to pull you off of your feet with every step. You set your hands in the worn folds of weathered rock and set about pulling yourself up the precipice. With a last burst of energy before your arms give out, you swing yourself up onto the ledge. Hayden trails behind, slowed by injury and delayed by early hesitation. As he nears the face of the rocks, one of the fallen attackers, who had been feigning death, lunges for Hayden and topples him onto the rocky ground. Restrained, Hayden lashes out against his fatigued assailant, but struggles to break his hold. They are close to you. Despite the wind, from your position, if you were to throw your weapon at the attacker, you would have a good chance at hitting your mark. We could either choose to throw our weapon, which I think would lose it, or allow Hayden to break free on his own. I'm not super attached to the mace that we started with, so I'm just going to throw it. Your aim is true. Sorry. Ooh. Your aim is true, and the hit jars Hayden loose. Lurching to his feet, Hayden clambers up the base of the rocks. As he nears the top, however, the wind flares, pulling him sideways and tearing one of his hands free. But diving out onto the hard rock, you manage to catch hold of it. Securing his other hand, you pull with waning strength, and it feels as though your arms will be jerked from their sockets. They hold just long enough for Hayden to set his feet and join you on the trembling ledge. There is a deep resonance to the swelling wind now. You feel it in the rocks beneath your feet and inside the cavity of your own chest, as though it would shake the marrow from your bones. Each new gust menaces the old stones before you, loosening connections, unsettling balances. As you dart beneath the old archway, the entire portal begins to fall beneath its own weight. Loading screen.
Was that?
A Bewick. Had to be.
Hayden's words come between wheezing gasps.
Then we're lucky to be alive.
And we're the only ones.
We can't stay here. There could be another collapse. We're not getting out that way anyway. Let's get further inside.
So the door that we came into this ruin through is now completely collapsed behind us. The floor is what used to be smooth, paving stone and is now completely cracked. And yes, we do have Brandon's voice for our player character. You'll hear when we next get into combat, he actually acts out the chanting that our chanter character is going to be doing. There are lit braziers along the walls, which is a bit suspicious. Might be magic.
That should be far enough. But what now?
We look for another way out. Storm has to die sometime.
What happened out there? Kalisha shakes her head. Windstorm. Of a kind they only get in Irglanfath. Not too many people live through them, so it's hard to know what's true. The Glanfathan word is Beowick. To them, it's the god's way of reaping the souls of the land that couldn't find their own way out. But they'll take a living soul as soon as a dead one. Still got yours? Who attacked us? Glanfathans. Those would be the hut dwellers Odima warned you about. Look to be Fangs of Gallowayne. They're the twitchiest of the lot. They go ruin to ruin, looking for fights with colonists. Poor Odima. I think he half expected this once we lost the main road. The Glanfathans were saying we trespassed in the ruins. I don't believe that. Odima would never allow it, but as much as the Fangs are hotheads, Glanfathans don't attack without being provoked. Either they saw something and got the wrong idea, or... She glances down the passage beyond. Or there's looters in here with us. That's not something we need right now. What about everyone else in our caravan? Kalisha's lips press together, and her chin rumples. Her voice is faint. The wheels got hold of them now. She looks up. Gods grant them better luck in their next lives. Let's get going. So we've got, I picked a path to the left.
See if they left anything useful behind.
We've got a small room at the end of this hallway that has somebody's bedroll and lean-to type tent set up in it. So someone else has been in this ruin. They left behind a box we could loot, though that's pretty good. 2 sets of camping supplies, which will allow us to rest if we need to heal any health. Let me check our equipment real fast. I did lose my weapon. So I'm just gonna... I just actually picked up another mace. So I'll go ahead and equip that. Alicia still has her axe. I'm gonna give her a shield instead of a torch in her offhand. And Hayden has 2 daggers. That's yeah, that's about right. I'm trying to remember how to put things into the stash. There we go. Shift click. The stash is what we'll use when we, you know, go shopping or whatever. So that was a dead end. Let's go to the right. Now this bit has some, like, those crystal torches. They're giving off a brilliant blue light in this room. And
those tiles look suspicious. Let's be careful.
Alright, so it branched to the north, or, well, what's north-ish, is a large pathway, and there's this sort of stone dais on the floor, and a grid of 5 by 5 glowing tiles with symbols on them. And that looks very suspicious. I believe if I put Hayden into stealthing mode, he's going to be able to detect that these are all traps. And I think he'll be able to disarm most of them. This is going to be a bit tedious. I have my game set to auto-pause whenever a character discovers a trap, in case they just do it while they're moving. Well, that means it's pausing every second as he gets farther into this grid and discovers more of them. There is a way to get through this without a rogue if you don't have Hayden with you at this point. By going into another room and lighting some braziers, I think, that correspond to the symbols, and then you can, like, make a path. But if you disarm it, it's free experience points, because you get, like, 15 to 20 experience every time you disarm a trap. I just noticed for the first time since playing this game that at the edges of this little grid are columns, but the columns are little, like, stylized beaked birds looking at it from all directions. It's very cute. Instead of going across that and continuing further north, I'm gonna change tacks and explore the rest of this trap maze thing. There's a dead adventurer on the ground. He has an Engwithan relief gem, a blue gem that has been sculpted to look like an eye, and a tattered journal. This small folio is torn in several places, and blood has soaked into several of the sheets. One later entry is still legible, however. I can't believe my luck. A few rounds of dice, and I've got my hands on a genuine Engwithan artifact. The fellow who had it said it was a pretty nothing, as far as he's concerned. He's not willing to go digging in some ruins. But if he's right about this gem leading to a hidden treasure, then that's worth sneaking past a few painted elves. I'll head to Silent Lists in the morning. Then it's just a matter of finding this relief he was talking about. So, this guy...
Wait, do you hear that?
Died on his way to a treasure. Oh? Came to a little corner here, and there is a little creature. A trembling, sickly creature emerges from the dark, clutching a spear. Knobby elbows and thin ribs show through its scaly flesh, but you recognize it as a Zarrip. It watches you cautiously, breathing in ragged sighs. Raise your arms and stand still. The creature cocks its head and approaches you, a soft, clicking sound emanating from the back of its throat. The creature sniffs around you and finds nothing of interest. It steps back and resumes its defensive posture. It's okay, I won't hurt you. Zarek recoils, fingers still wrapped tightly around its spear. Approaches me again. Alright. The only way not to attack this little guy, to get past it, although the only thing past it is one lootable pot, you have to kill a creature elsewhere in the dungeon, this one in fact, and bring the meat back to it. There's some of Brandon's voice acting there. Chanting in combat. Yeah, so we can take the meat from the Skulder. That was the creature we just fought. This urn has a hatchet in it. I might use that instead of my mace. Let's see. Yeah, because it's faster.
Take a look at the wall. Think we could get through?
There's a wall up here that we can break down in a scripted interaction. A crack runs along this wall from floor to ceiling. A light gust of air passes through it. Use the hammer and chisel to weaken the wall. We've picked up a couple sets of these in looting things. You set to work. The cracks lengthen and widen with your effort, but the process is more taxing than you expected. Sweat beads your forehead and your muscles begin to ache. After several long moments, you begin to see light on the other side. With one final tap, several blocks of stone shift, then tumble loose, clearing a gap just wide enough to pass through. So there are many ways through this dungeon. This opening dungeon here. We already got sort of past the starting area with the floor tiles puzzle. This is another way around that.
I could scout ahead.
By using the wall. Here are two other Skulders. Let me try and get Hayden into... Oh gosh. We've all gotten stunned somehow. They yelled. He only got to his first phrase after both enemies were already dead.
I'd be glad to.
That's how good we are, folks.
Do you feel that? There's a draft coming through that wall.
Fresh air in here,
sign of that storm
says Felicia. I think we found an exit. We are now definitely in the latter half. Spiders. Spear spiderling is what they're called. That was... Kalisha, like, slammed into it and chunks of spider went flying through the air.
Certainly.
Kinda nasty. We have not died yet. Amazingly. And you should be proud. I genuinely, when I started this up the other day, like, I could not believe that was you voice acting. It's like, really? Really? Is that his voice? Turns out it is. I'm doubling back.
Roundish symbol. I'm pretty sure I saw it on one of the tiles back there.
So this is the other way to get through the floor tiles puzzle, is by lighting up these braziers. I guess we're not carrying torches, so I can't light them, but I already did it with Hayden. And then past that, a bridge with a bunch of pillars into this, like, great hall room, which is filled with slime, black ooze slime. Just one of them at this difficulty? I guess. Nope, 2 of them. I think I picked normal instead of easy. It's feeling quite easy so far. Let me check. Yeah, I am on normal. I guess I've just played through this opening bit of the game so often. This corpse over here has a poleaxe, which is a polearm. There are a big variety of weapons in this game.
Where'd that slime come from?
Viscous and oily, this muck clings to anything it touches. So there's this big symbol on the wall, a relief, as it is called. Oh, what did I say? I said I said you should be. When I launched the game the other day just to get the OBS scene set up and everything, and I went through character creation to hear the voice and make sure it was you. And I was clicking through the dialogue lines to hear more and more of the voice, and I was like, seriously? Is this his voice acting? I can't even tell. So yeah, you definitely should be proud of this, because I couldn't tell it was you. Alright, there's this face on the wall that is leaking the slime. A viscous slick of something dark and tar-like runs down this wall. The shapes and bulges in the ooze suggest that something lies beneath it, although you can't tell what. I will use the water skin from earlier to clear off the ooze. You rinse the ooze away, revealing an intricate relief of a man's face. The sunburst surrounding it has chipped away in places, but the details of his head, from the tight curls of hair to the ridges of his pointed ears, still showcase remarkable craftsmanship. One eye socket is empty. A gem fills the other. Well, golly, I have a gem to put in there. The chamber begins to rumble. Stray rocks dance across the tile floor. Finally, a large section of the wall gives way. We found a hidden treasure with a slime in it. And I do believe you've said the name of your character in the expansion, so I might remember when we get there, but who knows. In this hidden stash in the wall, we have found a minor cloak of protection, which gives +5 to 3 out of the 4 defense stats, and 2 gems. So that's cool. Now we can finally... Oh yeah, several characters. I knew that. I definitely knew that. Anyways, I've backtracked. I've covered everything up until the floor puzzle now, so I will progress for real. Back through the place where we fought the spiders. Here's a big round room with some, looks like almost stained glass on the floor. Some sort of mosaic. And of course, there's spiders. A famished spear spider. And its spiderling.
Me too.
I wasn't fast enough. He barely got to 3 chant phrases before we killed both spiders. I'm gonna really have to turn the difficulty up if I want him to use his dang chants.
Certainly.
Although I will keep going at this difficulty for a good while until we have a full cast of party members. The difficulty definitely ramps up later on. There's a dead body in a side room here, strewn with spider webs, and it has a single helmet. We cannot use helmets, because we are a godlike. And the godlike have such strange heads that they can't wear helmets made for regular people. And that's the end of the dungeon. We have found light on the other end of the tunnel. So now we can load into the next area. We're coming out of the ruins at the edge of like a cliff face, sort of? Well, not a cliff face, more like the edge of an amphitheater. Let me just run forward and trigger this cutscene. In the center of the arena here is a giant apparatus with people standing around it. 4 figures stand before an otherworldly apparatus, an ancient structure of chiseled adra and metallic veins, ominous and looming like a silent observer. Standing motionless in their midst is what appears to be a human body, colorless as stone, or ash. The other figures gaze upon it in what might be contemplation. From your vantage point, you are well obscured from their view. The figure closest to the machine stands out among them. A thick gray beard frames a face otherwise hidden beneath a metallic mask. His faded robes are embroidered with a runic language unlike anything you have ever seen, and he wears a strange black headdress with 2 protrusions that jut out like the wings of some malevolent creature. The critical hit sound. I hope I hear it soon.
Oathbinder, bear witness, and see this man has kept his word true to his last breath, full to his blood's last drop. Guide his soul, queen that was, and regard it among your favored. Let his life by the key be his confession. Let his death by the key be his absolution. May he walk the world ever free of the crushing weight of the book.
The robed man is addressing the petrified body.
Your brother has done his part, and you have seen the power of his contribution. I will accept no further hesitation from the rest of you. In the sight of the queen that was, will you fulfill the oath? Will you take your place beside your brother in the endless esteem of her memory that is without flaw? Step forth, and be assured of the great worth of your life's course.
He looks each of the others in the eye in turn. He's walking up to the machine and casts some magic on it. It begins to spin rapidly, different sections of it spinning in opposite directions, and purple lightning energy arcs from each body toward the machine, filling it with this purple glow, and the wind strikes up again, swirling around it. It spins faster and faster and faster. And everything goes white. For an instant, the apparatus goes quiet, and the air is still. Then, all at once, it erupts with a concussive surge. Light floods your vision, and you are knocked to the ground. Your head snaps back as you land, and pain wells into the back of your skull, washing your last thoughts away into the black, unconscious void. You open your eyes, to a different place, another time. You stand in a circular room, grand and domed, its walls lined with adra and trimmed with copper. The style is ancient, but the chamber is unweathered. At the far end, a great pillar of adra pierces the floor from below, its shimmering texture giving the illusion of boundless depth. Encircling the pillar is an apparatus much like the one you've just seen, but immense and multifaceted and intertwined. Your thoughts are yours and not yours, and they seem to exist before you think them, and they are all questions, pressing questions, troubling questions, questions that must be answered, or... At the base of the pillar now, you see a man with a thick gray beard in a ceremonial robe, crowned with a strange ornamental headdress. You know this man. You are walking toward him now at a pace that is hurried, while trying not to appear so. You have something you want to ask him One question above all, and the question spins madly in your mind. Fade to black, and we wake up in the present day. There's some energy still emanating from the machine, although it isn't spinning anymore. You awaken to find your malaise is broken, only to be replaced with something far more concerning. Faint whispers are audible at the edge of your hearing, like a ringing in your ears that does not subside. Movement flits through your periphery, but when you turn to look, you can see no sign of whatever it was. You find your gaze regularly darting this way and that, an involuntary paranoid tic. If this is a sickness, it may be dangerous to go without treatment for too long. The figures at the machine stand frozen in place, flesh and blood replaced by cinders and ash. The man who led them is nowhere to be seen. Hayden and Kalisha lie bloody on the uneven cobbles, their bodies twisted unnaturally in death. You are alone and far from help. Gilded Veil may be your best hope of receiving treatment before things get worse. And we have leveled up and we are fatigued, major fatigue. After that, minus 25% maximum endurance. Yeah, we do indeed have protagonist plot armor in a big way, considering no one else has survived this encounter in any way. We can loot the equipment that Hayden and Kalisha had. Well, I don't think it was very much. Let me zoom in here. Come on, where's the hitbox? There we go. Just put all that in the stash. We are alone. Alone with our, giant miniature space piglet. I'm going to explore this area and then probably call it for tonight. As we walk, we are seeing visions that poof into existence and then poof out. That was a man on a torture rack that I just saw. What did you miss? You missed... I'm trying to remember when you headed out. There was an attack when we were trying to get water. We found the hunter who was supposed to be getting the water. He had been ambushed, and then we were successively ambushed. We made it back to our party camp, and the camp had been attacked already. Only one person survived, Hayden the merchant. We fought the attackers, who were local tribes people, I think would be the correct word. People who live and guard the ruins and take offense to other people traveling through. We managed to convince him through a dialogue tree not to kill Hayden the merchant. And then we ended up fighting them anyway. And then this storm whipped up, this really bad magical windstorm, drove us into the ruins and caved in the entrance behind us. We explored through, we found that looter adventurer who had died, leaving helpful notes behind as to how to use the gem that he had to find that secret cache. We solved a floor trap puzzle by having a rogue in the party. Hayden the merchant is a rogue, was a rogue, rest in peace. We caved in a small wall, which was one of the other paths to get past that trap thing. We could have just done that. We fought some slimes, we fought some spiders, and made it out of the dungeon, and then you came back. So really, you mostly just missed the dungeon crawl, which was not very long, a very short opening dungeon. I have run down the stairs to this machine thing. The bodies of the cultists, the the sacrifices are here. I just saw a vision of a person being burnt at a stake. That's cool. Just popping into reality. These bodies are interactable. If I click on one, I receive a crafting item called Vessel Flesh, which is extremely not ominous at all. But I can collect that from all 4 bodies. Pick some flowers. I'm gonna go walk up to this machine. It's like sparking a bit, like a broken TV in a video game. This massive structure is formed of stone, audra, and copper, and covered in strange glyphs. It went away. The air around it vibrates with an unusual energy. I should note that the ground here is like the stone pavement itself is inscribed with some markings. It's all very, very weird. And that, I think, is where I'm going to call it for this first session with Pillars of Eternity. My voice is dying. I don't usually do this much reading for 2 hours straight. Yeah, I'm going to go drink some water. I hope you have all had a good time and been intrigued by this opening bit. Next time we will be heading towards the village where we were supposed to be going, Gilded Vale, to try and figure out, yo, what's up with this thing that happened? And we will continue the adventures of Dan Braun, the chanter, and his space piglet. And absolutely, like, as soon as I heard that you had a character voice in this, like, that's so cool, just to hear a player character all the time. That is so awesome. I had this on my to-do list as a game to stream, like, from the beginning, because this is a game that I have loved for years. But yeah, having a friend in it, that's even better. I will, before I forget, I'm just gonna make a save here. It does autosave every time you change maps, but Dan Braun. Save. There we go. Alrighty, I will do my end of stream plugs. As always, I have been E or Cello. You can find me on Twitter at this same handle, at CEL10E. I will be archiving this on YouTube for sure. That should be posted hopefully within a few days. And yeah, I'm not actually using mods for Pillars. This game does not have as much of a modding scene as some other RPGs do. I think that may have to do with the engine that it's built in is maybe just inherently less moddable. I don't know, but the most I've used for mods are like some balance tweak, like number tweak things in the past, or some custom portraits. But it's very good. It's a very good game. I don't see a need to mod it, actually. Unlike Dragon Age, which I love very much, and also needs a lot of help to be the game that I expect it to be. This one, just perfect out the box. That's not true. No game is perfect. Anyways, I'm rambling now. I need to drink some water and get a snack. I hope you all have had a wonderful time and continue to have a wonderful evening. I'm going to sign off. Good night.